What's up, y'all? It's your girl, J. Renee, representing Ryan Radio and Hip Hop Humanism. I hope that y'all are doing well. Today, I'm going to talk to y'all about something real and direct, right? And that is slavery in the United States. Yes, slavery still exists in the United States. Now, let me talk about this, right? So, I post quite a few things on the internet. Now, one of the most recent posts that I posted has gotten a lot of attention. More attention than most any of the posts that I put out, especially recently. I'm trying to bring it up now so I can tell you exactly what these numbers are, but I know that over 300 people reacted to it. And I think I have just as many comments. And this post that I put up is about slavery that exists still in the United States of America. In these comments, I got people talking about slavery that's happened in other places. I had people saying things like blacks sold blacks first, Africans served Africans first. There would be no slavery if Africans didn't sell Africans into slavery. Even some racial slurs. I've had some people say how they want to where can they buy slaves and things like that. There's others that are saying that slavery does not exist in the United States anymore. And then there's some that talk about slavery that's happening in other places or that has happened in other places and all of these type of things. And no one has addressed the 13th Amendment. In one of the comments left on the post, someone said, where in the United States is there slavery? Where does it exist? And I said, look at the 13th Amendment. And then someone commented underneath of that, why won't you just answer the fucking question? And that let me understand even more that part of the problem is ignorance. Some people do not realize that slavery does still exist in the United States. They have no idea. The 13th Amendment is the opening, the door, the beginning to understand what slavery in the United States is and what it looks like. Okay? So let me give you a little bit of knowledge. So we're gonna look up what the 13th Amendment says, and I'm gonna read it verbatim to you. Okay? I'm gonna read it verbatim. This is not what I think, what I want it to be, or none of that. Okay, it talks about the 13th Amendment. I'm going to break it down to you. The 13th Amendment says that slavery and involuntary servitude are abolished in the United States, except as punishment for a crime for which a person has been duly convicted. So this means, in a more way that might be able to be understood, is if you're convicted of a crime, that you can become a slave and deal with involuntary servitude. That means that you can do hard labor. That means that you can work for these multi-million and billion-dollar companies for little to nothing for nothing and be used as a slave so that these people profit off of it. The people don't even profit off of it. Millionaires and billionaires that already exist and the prison personnel that are in charge of that or might have their hand in that cash flow are the ones that profit from that. Okay, so then you have the people that say, well, you shouldn't have went to prison or jail if you didn't want to become a slave. Okay, my question to you is this: where does your humanity stop and where does it start? Are you saying that it's okay to be a slave if somebody went to prison? So one of the things I'll usually say is, well, not everybody that is in prison or jail is guilty. So it's okay for them to be a slave too. And I ask questions like this because to me, it's not cool to be a slave, right? But I ask, where does your humanity start and stop? Because it does start and stop anywhere, if or somewhere. Excuse me. If you're saying, slavery is awful and I would never participate in slavery and slavery shouldn't be going on, but you in the next breath say, well, if they went to prison and then they became a slave, oh well, they should have never went to prison. That's where your humanity stops. You're saying, hey, people in prison aren't humans. They should be slaves, right? Everybody has a stopping point. Most people. I'll be more realistic. Have a stopping point for their humanity. They just don't say it out loud. Now, a lot of the comments that came up under this post is proof of that. Instead of people addressing the 13th Amendment and what it says, they decided to distract and deflect. And some even decided to use racial slurs, right? That means that's where their humanity stops. They don't really give a damn. Then, of course, some are ignorant. That's why I read to you exactly what it means so you can have more of an opportunity to understand what it means, right? So, humanity doesn't go past that. Like I said, some people, humanity does stop. Most of us, a lot of us. Uh, there's a limit to my humanity. If you tell me right now that somebody that raped a child got beat up in prison, I don't give a damn. I'm not calling nobody. I'm not sending no emails. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. I'm not sharing a post. I'm not going to say none of that. I ain't got nothing to say. But beat him again. Now, some people will say, "Oh, that is wrong. I can't believe you would say that." And there's people that have got in my inbox and said that. But that's where my humanity stops. I don't care about people that violate children. I don't care about people that violate the elderly or the disabled. If somebody beat their ass is beat. That's how I feel, right? But I can say that out loud and I can accept it and be real about it. Be real about where your humanity ends and where it starts. Be real with yourself. Okay? That way you can stay out of conversations that have nothing to do with you or enter them correctly and tell the truth. Hey, I don't give a damn about people that got locked up. I'd rather you say that than deflect and talk about how Paul robbed Peter and sold John. What does that have to do with the 13th Amendment and slavery when it comes to the prison system? Absolutely nothing. You're off topic, right? And I'm going to say this also, and then I'm going to go ahead. You should definitely look into what the 13th Amendment is. You should definitely ask yourself the question of where your humanity starts and where it stops. Does it have a start and stop? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the people around you, right? And then I have a real question. I have over 300 reactions and almost 300 comments on this post that said, hey, let's talk about the 13th Amendment and how slavery still exists in the United States. There are people that don't follow me. There are people that aren't on my friend list that have something to say, be it good, bad, or indifferent. My question to you is, where are you when people need help that are being abused? Where are you, or where were you when that mother in Texas son was being harassed and racially treated awfully, and she needed some help for people to call and support? Did you call and support? Did you say anything at all? Where are those, all of those people, when people are being abused behind the wall, when we found out that people were setting themselves on fire up at Red Onion because it was such a horrible place that they would rather set themselves on fire at a chance to get away from there, or when they was letting dogs loose on people? Where were all of these people at? Did you call anybody? Did you send an email? Did you do anything? Hmm? I find it extremely interesting how people that don't know what they're talking about, people that weren't invited to the conversation, can find their way on a post that say something derogatory or ignorant. They can't find themselves on my platform to help somebody do something that needs some help. You need to check your hearts and what's going on with you. Learn more about what the amendments say. Learn more about the law. Learn more about the world. And stop saying in this ignorant box. Okay? Sometimes we're ignorant. We don't know. But there's too much ways to get information out here. Pick up a book. You see this right here? Information. You can type in what you want to know, what you need to know, where you're trying to go, what you're trying to see. It'll tell you everything. All you got to do is ask it. Look up what the 13th Amendment is. Yes, slavery still exists in the United States. Ask yourself, where does your humanity stop and start? And be honest with you. Be honest with you first. That'll help you be honest with other people. That'll help you stay out of conversations that's none of your business. That'll help you get involved in things that should be your business. Do something besides nothing. Do something besides bumping your gums. Read a book. Use Google. It's right there. It's at your fingertips. Continue to talk about the 13th Amendment. Continue to talk about slavery in the United States. Continue to learn. Look it up. Teach others. The fight continues. It's your girl, J. Renee. Peace.